Steve Jobs has resigned as the CEO of Apple Computer, though he would like to remain as a member of the board of directors. Again, Steve Jobs unexpectedly resigning as the CEO of Apple Computer. If you will beg me the forgiveness, I'm going to read you the press release. This has literally come out moments ago. This is Steve Jobs to the board of Apple. I have always said if there came a day when I could no longer meet my duties and expectations as Apple CEO, I would be the first to let you know. Unfortunately, that day has arrived. I hereby resign as CEO of Apple Computer. I would like to serve, if the board sees fit, as chairman of the board, director, and Apple employee. As far as my successor goes, I strongly recommend we execute our succession plan and name Tim Cook as CEO of Apple. I believe Apple's brightest and most innovative days are ahead of it, and I look forward to watching and contributing to its success in a new role. I have made some of my best friends and my life at Apple, and I thank you for the many years of being able to work alongside of you. That is the letter Steve Jobs has sent to the board of Apple. So let's give you a trade right now on Apple if we can look after hours. The stock is down a bit, though, not a lot on Apple shares. We're off about 68 cents. Keep in mind, though, this news is just breaking. All right, we're going to have John Fort coming up live in our San Jose Bureau in moments. John, is John ready? All right, fantastic. John, obviously this is coming out of left field today, at least. What is the reaction? What are you hearing?
Really unexpected today, but not unexpected overall. Of course, we've known about Steve Jobs' health issues. It's been a closely watched issue. I see there's also a press release here where Steve Jobs talks specifically about Tim Cook, Apple's current chief operating officer, very clearly drawing the line to him as being his choice. Tim Cook is his choice to be the next CEO of Apple, pointing to his 13 years of service at Apple. This is not just big in tech, but this is a big global business story. Steve Jobs, of course, engineering the top turnaround of our age at Apple. 15 years ago, many people thought this company wouldn't survive. Also turning Pixar into a powerhouse in animation and movies that has continued to perform well for Disney. Steve Jobs being Disney's largest individual shareholder. Lots of questions now about what exactly does this mean about Steve Jobs' health, his ongoing role at Apple. We'll be watching the stock to see if investors do have confidence based on what's happened over the past several years that we've known that Steve Jobs has been fighting with this health issue. If investors are confident as well that Tim Cook and the rest of Jobs' team can continue to lead this company. Very shocking thing in Silicon Valley right now to be dealing with this at the same time as we're looking forward to the launch of the next iPhone, all these other things that are happening in Apple's history just in the past several days. Apple's market cap passed ExxonMobil to be the largest in the world. It's just an enormous confluence of events right now.
It certainly is. And a couple of things to remember here. I think, perhaps we just lost John Fort, although, John, you're still there, apparently. Remember, folks, we're breaking in on Mad Money here. Steve Jobs stepped down temporarily, officially, January 17th for medical leave, handing the reins over to Tim Cook. The stock has gone up about $50 a share since Tim Cook has taken over as acting or interim CEO, right? So there was clearly some optimism expressed by investors that Mr. Cook and his team could handle the job. But, John, being there, knowing Apple employees, being around the Apple campus and community, was there a feeling or at least some hope that Steve Jobs would return to the full-time job as CEO?
There's always that hope, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of realism here, too.
Yeah, he has not looked well when we have seen him on the rare occasions.
That is true. You know, he's been thin. He's not looking the same as he did 10 years ago. A lot of us have tried to have the respect for the process that he's going through, to not just continually point that out every time he gets up on stage. But look, everybody at Apple sees it. Everybody in Silicon Valley sees it. I think there's been a period of time through the number of absences that Steve Jobs has had from the day-to-day role. There have been a number of times when there have been questions about exactly how this company was going to be run. The current management team has shown that they can continue to run it.
John Fort in Silicon Valley with the breaking news that Apple CEO Steve Jobs has resigned as CEO, although, and I think this is a very important point given the questions around Mr. Jobs' health, is that Steve Jobs, in his resignation letter, did request to remain as chairman of the board and Apple employee, as he calls it. So he's saying essentially, I can still serve my duties as a member of the board.